It's often not named how traumatic motherhood is and how much grief you have to navigate in the process of motherhood because no matter where you are in your journey, I know many of you are mothers of littles and you stay home with them. And so your work is actually the fostering, the stewardship, and the formation of your children's souls.
Wow, how about that for an intro? Are you guys even just a little bit intrigued yet? Tori and I recently sat down and had this conversation to which we recorded specifically for a bonus lesson, a bonus teaching in my signature course program called the Energized Mama Method. And it was just way too good to keep exclusively for my clients and myself that we wanted to share with you some really golden nuggets that came from this time together. You'll get to hear Tori and I have a conversation and unpack together how integrating faith and understanding trauma can actually shed light on your path in motherhood, helping you embrace your true worth. I hope that you are ready to dive deeper today and to just fall more in love with yourself, because that's exactly what I aspire to make this entire podcast all about. So whether you are in the kid pickup line or you're at home with your headphones on prepping for dinner, I hope you get ready to have a truly transformative time with us by listening to this episode of the Energized Mama podcast.
The Energized Mama Podcast, a place where we explore together how to raise those littles to know the Lord while growing in your own intimacy with Jesus, learning how to keep your energy while handling the inevitable stress, and rediscovering yourself outside of motherhood. It is possible. Let's do it together.
Mommy. Mama. Energized Mama. Yeah. You might do.
And in embracing that place that the Lord has entrusted to you, there has been a sacrifice of who you once were to enter into who you're being called to become and who you are today. And the nature of massive change in our life is that all change will mean you will lose something and you will also gain something. And the loss that comes with motherhood is great, but also what you gain is great. And in order to live a free and a fully alive life, as my friend Carrie often says, we actually have to learn how to equally hold and navigate both the gratitude and the grief in our story. When you become a mother, you soon realize that many of the patterns in which you engage motherhood, the way you respond to your emotions, the way you respond to your children's emotions and needs, surface in ways that can sometimes be very surprising. And oftentimes we are left feeling a little, critical and lacking compassion toward ourselves. What's wrong with me? Why can't I be like this, mom? Why can't I do it this way? When really the invitation that we have here in trauma-informed coaching from a biblically sound and spirit-filled lens is to stop asking the question, what's wrong with me? Why is this so hard for me? What's going on? Why is this wrong with me to shift to what happened? What happened in my story to shape these sort of responses? Because all of your behavior, whether you are exploding in outbursts of anger, or you're the mom that just cannot be shook by anything and you're just steady and happy-go-lucky all the time, or whether you find yourself, organizing and reorganizing and cleaning the drawers and packing your schedule with busyness and things for your kids to do, or you find yourself guarded in your relationships with your loved ones and friends, or caving into patterns of overthinking and worry related to your, children, or potentially even allowing people pleasing and the needs and the roles that you once filled in different circles of your life are overflowing to suck all of the energy out of your role currently as a mother. These are all forms of what we call self-sabotage self-sabotaging behaviors that stem from root woundings in your story that have gone unnamed and unchallenged in your childhood. And for someone like me, who like I grew up in a Christian home, incredible parents that did the absolute best they could, a teacher and a dad that worked in a church, and I'm the oldest of four girls. I actually was raised believing that I didn't have a story. And that really, if I compared my hardship or things in my life to the suffering of the world at large, I had no room to complain. And so I actually was raised and trained to be the hero for everyone else because my life was so void of trauma. And although that named some goodness and some elements of my calling, it was very disorienting for me when I became a mother and I was crying myself to sleep and feeling trapped in my home and feeling very benched by God because now I had a life, this little life to steward in my son while I watched my husband and my best friends travel and do ministry full time. And I was left at home to change diapers and fold laundry and work multiple part-time jobs so that I could watch some of my closest friends and my husband live out what I felt at the time was my calling.
Right.
So it was very confusing and disorienting for me. And that curiosity and the frustration of that season led me into deeper places of necessary honesty so that I could actually gain full freedom in a truth that will set me free. And so I know we'll talk about self-sabotage and what it looks like to begin to heal, but that's the invitation for us right now into this conversation over the next, 20 minutes. Of course, we're not going to get to all the nuances, but to open the door to shed light on, some validity to what you may be experiencing and opening the door to say with true like faith and belief that there is hope and there is deeper places of freedom that will touch every area of your life, who you're being called to become, that begins with disorienting, difficult seasons that often come with big changes, like motherhood. Yeah.
Totally. Totally. And I think, you hit so many nails on the head. The entire time you were talking, I was either over here going amen or like taking notes because there's such a resonance in your story. And I think so many moms, especially if you grew up in a Christian home, I'm so glad you brought that up because these conversations I have with my moms in the communities that I'm in this, I also have a private Facebook group for Christian moms just to kind of be real and to say words like trauma or guilt or shame, things that as Christian moms we're told you're not supposed to feel. Like you have Jesus. Why do you feel these things? Right. And I do feel that there's such a sense of owning that we all have trauma. None of us are, safe from trauma, so to say. And also that we have so much unlearning to do. I've discovered in my own journey as a mom, even in these 4 short years. I guess I entered motherhood thinking I have so much to learn. And the longer I've gone, and when I surround myself with women like you, Tori, I feel like, wow, there's so much I actually have to unlearn. And that is by uncovering where is the hidden trauma in my life. And you had also touched on, though, how that it trauma also informs like from what I've learned like our view of ourself and our self-worth and then what we view about ourselves right impact our choices and ultimately our decisions we make as a mom but also just as a woman like how we function in our everyday life. And so you had mentioned about self-sabotage and I wanted to know like Tori, how would you say like your faith, or especially because you coach from like, right, like from very spirit filled, very biblically sound teaching. So, how would you say, from a biblical perspective, how can you approach like a mom, say a mom's listening and she senses she's struggling with her worth and she's trying to overcome her own self sabotage? Like, what are the first steps? How would your faith, you say, impact that? What would be some first steps that a mom could take?
Yeah, well, the first step is that you actually have to be honest about what's really happening. It's when you're dishonest that you will keep yourself trapped. So whether it's in your Facebook group or in the privacy of safety, a safe relationship, and even if you begin with the Lord going, I'm not well, and I don't know why. We hinge ourselves on the promise in James that when we ask for in faith without doubting for wisdom, that he gives and responds to us generously and ungrudgingly and without reproach. And
Mm.
so where there's fear that you're like not going, you're going to receive a reproach from God, this invitation is one that begins with honesty that will then move you into grief.
Mm.
Grief is the bridge between your brokenness and the shattered piece in your story to a place of restoration. And it's often where almost every single Christian person avoids, because there's not very much guidance in that. And yet we see so much honest processing of grief in the life of Jesus while remaining present with his Father and in full submission with his Father. So you can actually do both and you can be a great mom and you can begin to shift and change and grow while also daily navigating through, gosh, this is so hard. This is grievous to me. This is different. My body is changing, all these different things. And I don't know what to do with the fear that I'm experiencing. Because the key element that is necessary in order to heal self-sabotage is actually safety.
Mm.
Safety with God,
Yeah.
and it's safety in your own body, and it's safety with others. But here's the thing, cultivating safety in all of those relationships requires a brutal honesty and discomfort that comes through a confession and holding of not just the sin that you have done, but the sin that has been done against you that has shaped you and formed you into who you are today.
Oh, wasn't that so good? I loved going through the editing process of this episode because I truly gained so much more. That's what I love about conversations like this with Tori that is so intentional and just so profound and informed, is that you get something new from it every single time you listen. And if you want to go deeper with Tori and I, please definitely go to the show notes and go connect with Tori. She is so open, so warm, so friendly, so fun, and you can find her on Instagram and also become a part of what she's doing with the freedom movement. But of course, as I shared in the beginning of my episode, her teaching is included in a bonus teaching for my signature course, the Energized Mama Method. It's exclusively for moms of littles who want to reclaim their energy, balance their faith and family life, and ultimately thrive with joy and purpose. If that's you, again, please immediately go to the show notes, click on my link, and just go check it out. If you have any questions, you can find me here or on Instagram. I also have those in my show notes. I'd just be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. You can go ahead and find that link below, or just simply go to any way that you search for things on the internet and go ahead and type in energyformoms.com.